Today I'm going to teach my daughter how to make a pillowcase dress for the Dress a Girl charity.
The Dress a Girl charity distributes dresses free of charge throughout the world, believing that every girl deserves the dignity of owning at least one dress. We utilize their instructions for making an appropriate pillowcase-style dress.
The materials you need: the armhole pattern, sizing guide, and label from the Dress a Girl website, 100% cotton fabric or a pillowcase, double fold wide bias tape, elastic, fusible web, and sewing notions. Use the sizing guide to determine the size dress you will be making. Lay out your fabric. Make a small cut on one end and tear. This is a good way to check if your fabric is nice and square. Fold the torn edges together. Check the selvage edges to see if they line up. The selvage edge is the finished edge. Measure the length using the sizing guide and cut with a rotary cutter and straight edge. Pin the selvage edge, making sure the right sides are together. Stitch the seam using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Press the seam open. Using a seam gauge, fold up the hem 1 inch and press. Fold up the hem another inch and press. Pin or clip the hem and stitch close to the folded edge. At this point, you can add cute trim if desired. Make sure you backstitch every time you end a row of stitching to keep everything nice and secure. Lay your armhole pattern on the fabric and trace. Reinforce stitch the seam below the armhole to keep the seam from coming apart once the armhole is cut. Cut out the armholes. Make a small cut on the fold side to mark the center of the armhole. Open and press the rest of the side seam. Make the front and back casings. This is a fabric tube that the elastic will pass through. Press down 1/4 inch on the edge, then fold down another 1 inch and press. You can use a pounding block to help heat set the folds. Pin or clip the casings and stitch close to the top edge and again close to the folded edge. Measure the elastic using the sizing guide. Mark the end and the center of the piece. Cut the end only. Use a safety pin to insert the elastic. Secure the elastic to the casing edge. Continue to feed the elastic through the casing until you see the mark. Sew the elastic to the casing and cut. Cut the bias tape to the appropriate length using the sizing guide. Finish the ends by placing a small piece of fusible web inside the bias and press. Fusible web is like glue when heated with an iron. Finish with pinking shears. Now it's time to add the bias tape to the armholes. With the center of the bias tape marked, line this up with the center of the armhole and pin or clip into place. Bias tape has two sides, one wider than the other. The wider side goes on the inside of the garment. Stitch, making sure to secure the bias at the top of each casing. Add the Dress a Girl label. The label on the outside shows others that the recipient of your dress is under the care of an organization. Check for loose threads and press out the armhole bias. And we're done!
What we learned! Once you've mastered sewing a pillowcase dress, you can probably finish it in an hour or two.
Be sure to pick up the right size bias tape. There are lots of options to choose from, so be sure to read the package to get the correct one.
Not all fabric is nice and square. You need to check every piece.
After lining up the top torn edges, if the selvage edges do not line up like this example, use a straight edge to create a usable rectangle of fabric.
Although you can use a pillowcase, I found it difficult to find appropriate ones. That's why I use fabric. Be sure to choose a child-appropriate fabric. Nothing see-through. You can't go wrong with nature-inspired prints and colors.
These are my new favorite tools. These are the Clover Wonder Clips. They come in a 50-count package, and you can use them in place of pins. They are great.
The Dress-A-Girl labels can be ordered from their website, or you can print your own at home.
Dress-A-Girl is just one option for donating your completed dresses. Check the web for other charitable organizations or local missions. This is the second year I've made dresses. I use the Dress-A-Girl label, but send them directly to a church in New York City that does extensive mission work in Africa.
Remember, you don't have to be an expert. Just give it a try. Get out there and DIY!
You did a really good job today, Mom.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Good job.
Aw, thanks. It was fun.